everyone. Welcome into Nearing Nirvana. The girls and I are very excited because we have an interesting show planned tonight. This is something that is a passion in the community, and we're excited to kind of dive into it deeper. But before that, shout out to our sponsors over at Cover Price. They are the best, I believe, one of the best resources that you can use if you need to find pricing information on comics. Use code Nirvana14 for 99 cents. You get a month of their unlimited membership. Also, shout out to Bird City Comics. Same deal. They are a sponsor. And if you use code Nirvana, you get an extra little discount off of anything at the shop. So, all right, before we get going, hi, Lucy. How's it going?
It's good. It's good, thank you. How are you?
I like your shirt. I actually was I'm going to Boston, so I can go and see that bar in real life.
I love this. I love the show, so I was happy to get the shirt.
Good stuff. Jen, how you doing? You excited?
I am. I loved Cheers, but I was more of a Frasier as a kid. I liked Frasier.
I got into Frasier because of Cheers, but I didn't watch all this till I was an adult, which I'm happy because I can understand a bunch of the jokes and everything,
Well, there you go.
So Cheers is kind of like our show. Everyone's kind of welcome, right? Everyone's welcome.
And we drink.
There you go.
It kind of works. We always have a drink in our hand. A few weeks back, if you guys are paying attention, we did an entire show debating AI, artificial intelligence, art in the comic book community. We are seeing that appear more and more. And so we had several artists on. I recommend watching that show if you haven't already, because we're going to kind of cover both sides to that argument. We heard a lot of the reasons why it doesn't work, but tonight we're going to hear some of the reasons as why it can work. We have a special guest. We have Tillavision himself. He is known for his digital creations, and he's been exploding all over social media on multiple platforms for multiple reasons. Let's say hello to him. Tilla, welcome on in.
Hey, what's up, ladies? How's everybody doing tonight? I'm happy to be here.
I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. I'm a little nervous. Yeah.
I hope it's good nervous, like when you're about to go on a roller coaster.
It's good energy. It's good energy.
Good. Awesome.
You've been on a couple of our partner shows, and you were recommended. So we're happy to have you. Before we jump into the show, can you tell people exactly what it is that you do?
So I'm Tillavision, aka Matt Pentilla, if you want to call me by my government. But I've been in the entertainment business for 20 years, and I got in as a teenager, starting to DJ. So I would DJ parties, throw my own parties, and that was my escape from the regular life, was to when I discovered music and electronic music and hip hop music, and finding out about parties like that really created a place where art was cool for me. Other than that, what I knew of art was sculptures and kind of life drawing. And although I loved art, I didn't see how it applied to what I thought was cool. So when I discovered hip hop culture, graffiti, DJing, breakdancing, and rap music, that it felt like a place where art was celebrated in a cool way that I was really into. So that led me down a path of getting into the music business for the first during my 20s, and it started off. I transitioned from a DJ to a music producer, and I produced for artists like Kid Cudi and 50 Cent, and I officially remixed for Adele and Linkin Park and Kanye West and all these people.
Linkin Park.
I love Adele. Yeah. No, he had me at Adele. Adele.
So it was the discography is crazy. If you go down the rabbit hole, my production group was called the Kick Drums, and it was myself and another person, and we went through this wild roller coaster ride. Speaking of roller coasters, through the music industry for 10 years that had ups and downs. And the downside was very disheartening. I experienced that side of the music industry that you hear about. And that prompted me to join one of my childhood friends when he launched a independent music streaming platform called livemixtapes.com. And Live Mixtapes was launched in 2006 as one of the first music streaming platforms. And it would go on to later launch the careers of artists such as Future, Migos, 2 Chainz, Gucci Man, all these different people, all your favorite rappers that you've heard about. A lot of them have their
My husband might know about this because my husband used to make music, so he might know what you're saying.
He would either know there were two websites, Live Mixtapes and DatPiff. DatPiff was the website that anybody could upload their music to, and Live Mixtapes, where I was a curated platform where we worked with DJs across the country to find out who the hottest person was in every city. And then we would showcase them on our website, or we would give them that outlet and that platform to independently release music. So working on that platform, I would work with artists on their promotional campaign of their mixtape rollouts, which would include a lot of digital content creation. So I got into After Effects and animating and creating these little promotional commercials for music artists. And all the while, how this relates to comic books is all the while I'm consuming, just for pleasure, my favorite movies, my favorite comic books. I'm just kind of doing that in my spare time, but then working with these artists on their music releases. So there came a point about 5 years ago where artists started coming directly to me. And that's when I launched my digital design agency, specifically working on music videos, lyric videos, and then promotional content, and working directly with artists on those things. From that, I found out about other ways to monetize and NFTs in the early 2020s. And I wanted to utilize my relationships within the music industry and my experience with animating and creating, 3D collectibles and digital goods like that. And I wanted to combine those two worlds, and NFTs was the perfect place to do that, which paved the way for a new way of storytelling through NFTs. And the story being whatever NFT that we're going to release, we could come up with a whole new way of rolling out that product, or whether that's a music video or an album or whatever. And that went really well. And just from being experienced in all of these different things, and storytelling being at the very center of it, my favorite way of storytelling is comic books. So it came full circle and brought me back to my original love of comics, and wanting to utilize all the new technology and everything that I've learned along the way and apply it to my favorite method of storytelling, which I believe is the foundation of storytelling through the language of comic books. So that inspired me to get into it. And to date, I've independently released 3 different books. And the first one is Little Bitcoin. And this is my a superhero on the blockchain. So this is a completely crypto and NFT infused comic book, complete with QR codes on every page that will guide you to different places throughout the metaverse where you can learn more about the story. And then lastly, my book, Blank Canvas, which we'll get into in a moment. But, I've realized that in this introduction, I've probably said a lot of words that make a lot of comic book people cringe. Like NFTs, AI, crypto, these are the scariest things. But you know what? From my entrance back into the comic world through my unconventional way, this is the method of storytelling that I'm most interested in, coming from a lifelong reader of comic books. And I can't really help that. There's no plan about it. There's no agenda of, this or that. It's the most interesting way for me to express myself through comic books. So I hope to learn from the conversation that we can have about what people's what their what they have to say about it, and what the negative side might be. And I have a different perspective, but it's all about conversation.
I agree. I think it's a very important conversation that we should all have. And I don't think it's ever fair to only hear one side of it.
Yeah.
I think it doesn't give you a well-rounded opinion or view of what's actually happening here. So you launched Tillavision in 2018, focusing on digital content creation, social content, music videos, and animated shorts. And from what I'm reading here, you have over 1 billion total YouTube views.
We're nearing
Between all these-
I'm nearing 1 billion. We'll see. I don't know. But yeah, we're getting up there. We're getting close.
Wow, that is so crazy.
Mind-boggling.
I think that my number one YouTube traffic has been from my collaborations with Pop Smoke, the rapper Pop Smoke. And I did all of his visualizers for his album. So when people release an album in 2020 and 2023, in the last couple of years, there's been a three-part rollout as far as visuals go. The first is some type of regular visual, just a visualizer. The second thing that comes out is a lyric video, similar to what we're seeing here. And the last is an official music video. So I did all of the first stage of that with Pop Smoke, which was all the visualizers. So when the music was premiered for the first time to hear it, they paired my visuals to his music, and that was how the world was introduced to that new album. Was with
what do you mean your visuals? What exactly do you mean by that?
So I'll create normally a visualizer. So what people would do for a visualizer, because it's their way of premiering the music, is they would just have the single artwork, or they might have the album artwork, and it would just be a still image. And that is only, I mean, it's wasted space where you could be entertaining or engaging the audience in a different way. So they started animating the covers, or they might animate the artwork. And then it just turned into full-fledged, create us a cool visual. And normally a visualizer doesn't include the artist. So the artist isn't featured because you're saving that for the official music video. But it'll be something that complements the song. It could possibly even be a loop, something that loops over and over again. And a great example of that is the original music video visualizer for Lil Uzi Vert, XO Tour Life, I think is the name of the song. But it was just a simple image that just looped over and over again. It was almost like a GIF, and that would be considered a visualizer. But for me, I go all out. So I'll make an entire animated video because I really want, those. Sorry.
So this one, like the Red Ruby, can they use that because what I'm picturing and what I seen a little bit of this, it was kind of like that you can use something like this for karaoke.
Yeah. Well, this is a lyric video.
Yeah. So because it's just the lyrics, but it has that cool stuff in the background.
Yeah.
So it's like it kind of, it's like my husband's Filipino. So they do a lot of that party. They do karaoke.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Lyric videos are great for that. Although they might be a little distracting because you're trying to do the perfect karaoke performance, but you're watching the lyric video at the same time. Lyric videos are just another way for artists to be creative and, speak to their audience in a way that, might enhance the song. So that's what I try to do with every lyric video I do. The one right here that we're looking at is Nicki Minaj, Red Ruby the Sleaze. I love the song, and I just want to make something that Nicki herself will see and want to watch it just for the visual. And that's not to downplay the song, but that's just me doing my job, is let me make something that's as good of the song and makes it even better. So if I can do that with everything I do, whether that's a visualizer or a lyric video or an actual music video, that's what I'm trying to do.
Wow. I don't even, Jen, do you have a question on this one?
No, just
I know.
Wow.
We're all just like a little.
Well, Red Ruby the Sleaze, what the difference is between Red Ruby the Sleaze and what I did for Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke, I did all in 3D. So I used 3D software called Cinema 4D. Everybody's using Blender right now. I don't know. We'll see. I might end up converting, but if you've heard about any type of 3D software or anything like that and you're interested, Blender is a great way to get in. But I created all the graphics for that music video and that series of videos with Cinema 4D. And I also used the same 3D software to design my comic books. So if you look at these comics, this is my little Bitcoin comic here. You can see that here. Let me see if I can get something right here. There we go. So here's like a cool scene. It's all this. And this isn't created with AI. This is created in 3D. So this is all like a 3D scene. I don't know if you've seen 3D animation, like in Pixar movies and stuff like that. So it's different than hand drawing everything. And that's been but I do hand draw over top of the 3D. So I'll create in 3D and then I'll go into Clip Studio Pro. And Clip Studio Pro is kind of like Photoshop and Illustrator together. And I find that it's great for creating comic books. It's actually called Manga Studio. originally, but they changed that to Clip Studio. So it's made specifically for making comics, and I love it. So I'll do all my renders in 3D, and then after I have it in 3D, I'll put it in Clip Studio Pro, and then I'll draw over top of it on Clip Studio Pro. And it ends up being kind of like, I would say like 70% 3D and 30% hand drawn over top of it. But this is an unconventional way of making a comic book. And if you go into any of your comic book stores, I've looked and I don't see a single book that is entirely designed in 3D, in a 3D program like Cinema 4D or Blender. So, you know, to me, that's kind of cool. And, you know, should be at least noted that I have a book that doesn't look like anybody else's. So,
hey, that's something that has value when you are able to present a product with a different spin on it. How long does this typically take you to do? Let's just say that this video that you did for Nicki Minaj, hours. How many hours do you put into this? This isn't like you just generate it and it's done. This is done by hand.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, the Nicki Minaj video was some of it's in 3D, so you'll see like dance sequences with, you know, different characters. That was recorded in motion capture using a motion capture studio in Mexico. And if you look on my Instagram account, you'll see the behind the scenes motion capture footage where we had a female dancer come in and she does all the motion capture.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And using the motion capture, I was able to animate it in Unreal game development engine. And Unreal is the same thing that they make Fortnite with and all these video games. And a lot of new films are made using Unreal. So Unreal game development engine is kind of like the future of where everybody's content they're creating in other apps such as Blender or Cinema 4D. It's all going to Unreal Engine. So I kind of wanted that to be the case with making this video. So the motion capture was put into Unreal. And then I flew virtual cameras around my character and I screen captured that. And then I ran it through AI. I processed it through AI to give the animated characters more of a painted look, similar to how they might do in that movie Waking Life, if you guys remember that, or or the movie of Loving Vincent, where they're painstakingly painting over each frame. I have that same power now, but you know, I can do it with prompting, and I can still be as creative as I want with it. So it's just a kind of like a visual effect that you can spice what you're creating. It's definitely not doing all of the work by any means. But to answer your question, it took about a week. It took about a week to do that video.
Wow.
Well,
Very
that is
cool.
so crazy.
This whole thing is like very interesting. Like I'm learning a lot. This is a lot of stuff I'm not familiar with. And so this is girls, anything to add on this one before I move on?
No, I just, you know, okay, go ahead, Jen. You first.
I love that the Waking Life. You don't hear very many people. That's awesome.
I spent a lot of time nerding out over the last 30 years and watching every film,
learning
like reading.
Your craft.
Yeah, really. I am a student to the game, and I feel like I've probably seen almost every movie that's ever been made, pretty much. I've ran out of movies to watch. Now I'm just going out 2, 3, 4 times, but just really studying it. And you know, now I'm trying to catch up on comic books and like, you know, learn everything that I can from there. And YouTube has been. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Oh, one thing I wanted to add is I just did a music video that debuted yesterday. So that'll be a couple days ago when our video airs here, from David Guetta. And I used the same technique as I did in the Nicki Minaj of adding AI to it. And very excited about that one, having 2 videos now made almost entirely in AI, and really just trying to be an example of how you can use AI to tell stories and create art, do it in a reasonable amount of time, and create really quality stuff that people still love without sacrificing any of the quality.
Okay, see, like AI, like right now, like there's a lot of misconception and stuff like that. You know, there's a lot of stuff that, you know, people think that it's just kind of something that you throw out there, and especially me, like I don't know much about this. I have not like very looked into it, and I've seen some stuff, you know, like, but for me it's still very new and still learning. But then seeing all the work that you put in and
Yeah.
you know, on everything you do and the hours and stuff like that. It's just so crazy. And it's just like you're saying, it's just like my head is just like, it's not an easy thing to do, especially the way you do things, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just
When
awesome.
people, thank you. And when people see the process, they're like, why didn't you just draw it? Because, and you kind of scratch your head, like, not a bad idea, because it took about the same amount of time. They, it's like we both, it's a completely different process. It has different skill set applied here. And I think that people that don't have this skill set shouldn't hate on it because they don't have that skill set. They should realize that this is different from what they do, and it's not a competition. It's more of just a tip of the hat. Like, hey, I see you're really good at moving your wrist, and you have a steady hand that makes your ability to draw really good. But these people have a different skill set of prompting and painting these images with words, and their knowledge of art in general, to be able to craft the perfect prompt to get the image that they're looking for. It's almost like being a poet, except then you have to apply all the technical knowledge of taking those words and turning them into images that you can tell a story with. So it's just, I think that there's,
speaking of which,
yeah.
that's a good segue here.
Okay,
So
yeah.
you just said that you were taking these images and turning them into a story. So tell us what Blank Canvas is all about.
Yeah, Blank Canvas is my new book. After I made my 3D created book, Little Bitcoin, and I was learning all this about AI, it was just a rabbit hole I fell down and accidentally ended up making. And it was one of the most fun experiences creating anything I've ever done before. And that's why I want to be such a advocate for getting into AI, learning to storytell in AI, is because I want other people to share in that experience. Some people, when you're creating something like a book or something, it's a writing process. But for this book, it was an exploration that it was a journey that I took with the AI. So I was working with the AI and kind of going further into the story and deeper into the storyline and learning more about the characters, and things are getting revealed to me as I'm going along. And it was an exciting process that was, I was able to write a 400-page story in a week. And I've never been able to write a full, complete book in my life. So I felt supercharged with the new tools of being able to sort my thoughts, get them down, move on to the next thing. And over the course of a few days, an entire book revealed itself. And then I was like, I have enough for 2 books. So I split it. So I've got the first book and the second book, and Blank Canvas, this comic book, is the first chapter from one of those books.
And what's the synopsis here for people who had no idea what this is about? A brief synopsis of what this is about.
Blank Canvas is a semi-autobiographical story about an artist that is lost for inspiration, and he tumbles into a magical portal within his canvas that hurtles him into a world full of color and adventure. And on his journey through this world, looking for his way back home, he hopes to find the inspiration that he's looking for. So it's kind of like Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland, told through the worldview of an artist.
It did remind me of both of those. But just to be clear here, so you took the words that you were writing down, that you had in your mind, and you fed it to an AI that generated the image to match those words.
I went into ChatGPT. Okay,
I was just going to ask you that.
That's
what it was. The chat.
Yeah, ChatGPT, and I basically had an idea for this story, about this guy who, is lost for inspiration, and he falls into his canvas, and what happens next, and from there, the story started spidering in all of these different directions of, the way that I compare working with ChatGPT on a story is like Dungeons and Dragons, even though I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but I imagine it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, where there's a dungeon master. And oh, does anybody here play Dungeons and Dragons? Any Dungeons and Dragons? Oh, do you? Okay.
Yes.
So confirm if I'm correct here. Maybe I'm wrong in this comparison. No, be proud. Hey,
Let's hear it.
but,
Let's hear it.
so there's like a dungeon master, and you have your die, and you roll your die, and like the dungeon master kind of explains to you, like, oh, you just entered this room, and there's these different things in there. what do you, what choice are you going to move? And then you roll your die or something. Is that similar, kind of like that?
That's the gist of it. Have you ever seen Stranger Things?
I haven't.
Okay, there's a whole
Get
like,
on that.
I know,
Get on
right? I'm
that.
probably the only person on the planet, but yeah.
well,
I love
there's
Stranger
like
Things.
it's a similar concept there, but yeah, you roll the dice and it can kind of just change the fate of the players. And the dungeon master is he's the god of the game. He's the one that's laying out all the possible fates, but you still have some control over how you react.
Okay, so it's not completely like that, but it's a little bit, in that AI kind of tells you the scenario. So here's a little tip for anybody that's story writing in AI, because there's so many different ways to do it. But here's one thing that I found that really was a lot of fun. Was I took my character and I said, okay, my character's in this room. He has his magical paintbrush that can, his magical paintbrush has these qualities about it. It can create portals. It can create objects out of nowhere. And it can run out, when it runs out of paint, it stops working or something. And then I say he's surrounded by 5 villains who are closing in on him. Give me 5 ways that my character can escape utilizing his powers with his magic paintbrush. And then it'll say he does this, he does this, he does this, and he does this. And I'm like, holy shit, that was awesome. I love these 3 ways. Actually, let's just take all 5 of those, combine them into one action-packed escape sequence that is fun, engaging, and has a twist end that I wouldn't expect. And then it will kick out kind of the results of all those things combined. And then from there, I would put it into Google Docs, and then I would just revise it. I would take out the sentences that don't sound good. I replace them with sentences that sound good, and, just really revise it. But the fun that you have, where you're like, oh, that's an awesome way of him. And then that compounds on itself after weeks of working on something, where now the AI is making suggestions pulled from an idea you came up with 2 weeks ago, and how it reemerges into your story. It will surprise you.
So it remembers?
Yeah, it remembers. Yeah.
That's scary. That's crazy. It's cool. It's scary. I don't know.
It is like I said, the rabbit hole.
Unfamiliar.
When it's 3 a.m. and you ask how how is my character going to escape out of this scenario, and then some character saves the day that you thought had passed away in a previous thing like 3 weeks ago, and all of a sudden they emerge. It's like, you feel a little tear corner at your eye, and you're like, am I getting emotional? Did ChatGPT just make me cry? Like, it's, it can surprise you in ways. And I just, tell people, like, jump into ChatGPT and just start having some fun with some stories that you have in your mind. It's right. Here's my character. They're in this room. They go out for a beer. What happens next? Okay, this happens. And then just start riffing. And ChatGPT ends up being kind of like the best friend partner that you never had, when your friend is just tired and they want to go to sleep, and because you've been talking their ear off for a half an hour about this idea.
That's just Lucy. She's my chat person. I just text Lucy in the middle of the night. Lucy, do you have a beer? Which way do we go?
If you want to spare her the sleep hours and give those back to her, you can still do it. And please,
I want to torture her forever.
Yeah. Well, but ChatGPT can, soften the blow slightly when you need that extra thing. It's 4 a.m. She's already retired.
I'm gonna ask, like, how can I respond to Laura nicely?
Yeah. If you're gonna respond to me with AI, okay. So how did you get the visualizations for your book then? How did these come into being?
So then I just started thinking about the paragraphs, and I would sometimes I would take a paragraph and I'll put it into ChatGPT, and I'll say, condense this paragraph into a single descriptive sentence using as many visual details as possible. And it'll crunch the whole entire paragraph down into a very concise, detailed sentence. And then I'll dump it into my image generators, and I'll start seeing what it comes up with. And sometimes it comes up with some cool things that I like, and other times it's stuff that doesn't work at all.
Jen had a question about that, actually.
Yeah.
I was kind of curious how many images or prompts you had to go through to, like, I don't know if you kept track, how many you go through.
Not specific. I don't have a specific number, but it's thousands for sure.
Thousands
Yeah,
before
thousands
you
of
found
images.
one that you liked?
No.
The book.
Well,
Oh.
possibly. I have done thousands that I haven't liked any of them, and so that just tells you
Ooh.
I've done hundreds of thousands of images, and that's just again, coming from somebody who's been a professional artist since I was a teenager, where I've never had a real, like a normal 9 to 5 job. It's always been in some type of artistry. I am supercharged with AI, with powers that I've never dreamed imaginable. And you have this power too, is yourself telling you that I'm not into this, because I didn't have to be into this 6 months ago when I started. I could have kept doing my 3D art and doing all my 2D stuff that I've been doing, but I taught myself a new skill because this intrigues me and it's fascinating, and I realized the benefits of getting all this time saved and being able to explore more of my imagination than I thought that I ever could in my lifetime. So why would I not explore that a little bit? So I opened that door on January 1st of this year. And since then, I've been able to, animate 2 music videos for top tier artists. I put out my own comic book. I've got 6 more that I'm considering. I've got a book that I'm putting out at the end of this month. So just my productivity output as an artist has skyrocketed. And that to me has been very satisfied. Like it's satisfied my soul,
Okay, I have a question. So, like, what do you think? Like, the artists that they still work like with pencil and all that stuff. Like, do you think that they're, um, with more people exploring this, and getting into it and learning all that, since it's still kind of new,
Yeah.
and getting really good at it, do you think those artists are kind of like in danger of losing their jobs, or like, or do you think that they will follow up? It will be kind of good segue for them to kind of follow up with this too.
I think that I'm one of those artists that had the potential of losing my job. That's why I was like, I need to learn this, because if I don't, I might get left behind. So I think that there is a little bit of accountability on the artist to evolve with the times. Like think about how many of your favorite comics are digitally made now. What if a comic artist was like, I'm never giving up my pencil. I'm never going to the Wacom tablet. Like, you can do that, and there will always be a place for those artists, but there's this new digital comic book thing that's going on, and you see where that's gone in the last 20 years. So if you just look at the patterns, then you know that evolving is to your benefit, possibly if you're into that. But I think there's always going to be a place for people that do hand-drawn art. It might get smaller and smaller. Like for instance, my dad is an architect, and he makes these little cardboard houses as his models because he never learned how to 3D model. He never got into CAD. And that has limited the amount of architecture jobs he can get in modern day, because everybody wants a 3D model. Everybody, so people still go to my dad because he's a pro and he's award winning and all that different business for work. But you just see how the industry is changing. And you can either be a part of that or not, if you can find how it works for you.
Yeah, that makes me think, like, I mean, everything evolves, right? Like back in the day, like you had like people who, I mean, some people, some jobs, they just disappear. Like, back in the day, there was people who were turning off the little candle lights from the streets, and then now it disappears because you don't need that, Now it's like not changing the light bulbs or anything like that. It's all electric or solar, So,
sorry, go ahead.
No.
So there's going to be ways that benefit like everybody, though. Like for instance, I think that everybody who's a hand drawing artist, you should hire somebody to train an AI on your style, so that you can license out your style. So nobody can steal it from you because you have an AI trained model.
I was just going to say that's a big part of it, is that they're afraid that, there's been talk that some of these images are stolen from human artists.
And they are. And I made sure in the making of Blank Canvas, I didn't reference any artist by name throughout my entire book. So if there's anything that looks like comic book style, that would be the prompt I use, is comic book style or sketchbook style. I'm not saying, draw this in the style of Frank Frazetta. or something like that. You know, I just think that is, I think is taking, and I suggest that people don't use, unless it's just for fan artwork or something. And you say, you know, I use this guy's style. Like, you shouldn't use artists by name, because I think that is kind of overstepping your boundary a little bit.
Well, like I said, this has been very enlightening. It's very interesting to hear the other side of it.
This is something this is something that's very exciting, guys. Like, people like, and also realize, like, if you were into the underground comics movement of the 60s and the 70s, the Robert Crumb stuff and all the underground San Francisco stuff, I feel like we're in an underground comic movement in the AI world that's similar to that. And it's that small right now too. It might seem annoying, and it might just seem like, you know, that's something that you wish that would go away. But there are people that are into this that don't even care what the outside comic book, you know, people think. They're growing their own thing. And I just started getting a newsletter from something called, I don't know if I can promote this or not, but I have no affiliation, but I think it's called AI Comic Books. I subscribed to a newsletter, and they sent me like a newsletter of almost 20 different AI comic books, like from all different kinds of artists and all different styles. And I was like, wow, this is enough for a movement right here. Just like these books, I'm curious what each of these books are doing. Like, they're all applying like new techniques that don't really have any rules, and they're able to tell these stories faster than anybody else. So I can imagine that, you know, these books are going to come out more periodically, which is more for the fans. And there's just a lot more experimentation going on here that's really refreshing. And if you like seeing something that's different, they're breaking all the rules, and it's fun. It's fun to watch, as long as it doesn't impede on anybody else's rights. Like, like I said, I'm not for stealing from other artists. I do think that it's cool making fanzines. So I think that it would be really cool for somebody to make something like, I don't know, you could have so much fun with what you could do here if you were just giving books away. Like, if you wanted to do like they just had the Trump AI stuff. Did you guys see that?
No.
Oh, I think I did. I thought
Trump AI stuff.
They did this. Somebody did a sequence of events of a fake arrest of Trump. So it was like, it was
a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you saw it on your timeline or something, but it was like, you know, he's getting pepper sprayed by the police. He's like trying to get away. He goes to prison, and he's eating in prison. And then he escapes through the ground, and then he ends up at a McDonald's. And that's the end of, but it's just these images that somebody posted on their Twitter timeline. But it's like, as you're scrolling down, it tells a story with no words, but it's just images that they generated. And that's how, you know, these AI generators work, is you're kind of just telling it like, okay, do this, have it do this. But it is a cohesive story, and it's got a hilarious punchline where, you know, Trump gets out of jail just to sit at a McDonald's eating a burger. And, you know, so it kind of reminded me of like a Sunday comic strip, political comic strip or something. And all that's really missing is somebody to take those little images that they generated and print it out in a book, for it to be a really good, you know, entertaining, like almost like Mad Magazine, how Mad Magazine would do the parodies and have celebrity, you know.
I'll look this up. I'm intrigued by this description. Now I'm like,
it's interesting. But if you imagine it like printed up into a comic book story, you realize that this is really not far off from storytelling in comic books, and it's only a matter of time before many people are doing this. Many is you know, just having its own whole thing. So I've been enjoying experimenting myself. I won't always just do AI comics. I have a 3D and AI merging comic book coming out with Little Bitcoin issue 3. And I might even go and do some hand-drawn 2D comics just to show my throwback style and storytell that way. But I think that for everybody to find how they can take these new tools and this new tech and enhance their workflow so that it's a better experience for their readers, you shouldn't let other people's opinions stop you from telling the story how you want and in the way that you want to tell it.
Well, that's exactly why we had you on. We want people to hear the other side to this whole thing. And yeah, we're glad that you were able to come on. I'm sure we'll have a lot of questions after the show. So if you wouldn't mind going through and checking the chat after the show and see if anybody has any questions that you could answer for us, that would be great. In the meantime, we are going to include the links to all the music videos in our chat. Yes, Jen?
Real quick. So Blank Canvas, there'll be a comic 2.
Yeah, there'll be a comic too.
Okay.
Absolutely. I've got a 400-page story right now, and this is chapter 1. So there might be a 2, there might be a 3, there might be a 4, there might not be. I don't know. We'll see. We're just.
And then have you ever? Oh, sorry.
Where can you find all these? At the comic book shop regularly, or how?
These are only available right now. You might be able to catch one on eBay. We put out 200 of them, and they've been selling on eBay for between $60 and $80. So if you're lucky, you might be able to pick one up. And they've been seen out in the wild in some comic book shops in Atlanta, in the Atlanta area. They've been I've seen a couple circulate over there on the shelves. And hopefully we'll find a way to get to a broader audience. But right now, I'm very happy just putting out small exclusive books to the community that cares about it and letting it spread from there.
And real quick, I definitely got that that vibe as a kid. Aha, Take on Me.
Yeah, of course, that inspiration is always never far.
But it was nice because it made me like
Nostalgic, right?
Yeah. I think that it's something in humans about, wanting to live that story of transitioning to another dimension and going on an adventure and coming back. Maybe it's something from our dreams because we do that on a nightly basis. I know it definitely comes from there from me. I'm just very into that story of, the rabbit hole and going down it and coming back with some sort of moral change or something. It's a simple story, but I could tell it 1,000 times because again, it's very much like a dream, like going on a dream. Do you all dream at night?
I remember every single one of my dreams. My husband never does, but I remember every single night when I wake up what I dreamt about.
Isn't that cool to think that you're going to, if that's how much you dream, that you're going to be doing that for the rest of your life? Because sometimes I'll wake up and I'll say, oh, I want to go back there. And I'm like, oh, I can go tonight. And I can
Tilla, I can too. If I think about it hard enough, I can decide what I'm going to dream about.
Yeah,
I really can. I'm
still trying to get there. I have been looking at some documentation on learning to lucid dream. I've been close, but it amazes me that there are people that claim that they can do that, or yourself. Maybe you can share some
lucid
tips.
Dreams like that, but I can definitely decide what I am going to dream about. Like I'll do it tonight.
I've only been able to do it a couple times, but usually like I can't do it for the whole time. I lose it part way.
Yeah. Same. The dreams are mind-boggling to me, and the fact is, I have a lot of symbolism in my dreams that I know exactly what they're trying to tell me. So it's normally I'll wake up and I'll have some sort of symbolic of, oh, that's what I need to do. That's what it was telling me to do. You can, I believe in dream reading. I think that that's a possibility. I used to think it was BS, but now I'm like, no, because certain symbolical things you can tell. Like I'm often in a, my thing is I show up to a DJ gig and I'm ready to play and then everybody just leaves. Or like I go into play and I don't have any of my music and it's all like unorganized and everybody just like slowly starts walking out. It's a dream that I've had throughout my life. Or like going to school and you're trying to undo your locker and you can't figure out the locker
trying
thing.
Trying to call somebody, I think you know the number, but you can't dial somehow.
Okay, I haven't had that one.
It happens to me all the time.
How I decipher it is being prepared. So it's maybe I have a fear of not being prepared. I need to make sure that I am prepared. I have a lot of anxiety about not being prepared. So my dreams are telling me, don't let this happen to you. Make sure that you bring your discs when you go DJ or whatever. So
I get scared sometimes with my dreams because some of my dreams, a lot of my dreams, they have come true.
Yeah.
Like
it's weird, right?
Like it happens and I'm like, ugh. So sometimes I'm scared to dream because I'm like,
we live in a very strange world. And we spend a lot of our life in dreams. So I like to explore that with my creations. I did with Blank Canvas. And earlier in this conversation, I brought up Waking Life. And that's kind of that movie has been a big inspiration for me. The fact that, they were kind of, drawing cell by cell, frame by frame, and what I do now with AI, and then their subject matter of kind of exploring the subconscious, things like that, are all elements that I like to also explore in my books. So if you connect with any of those things, I think you'll love the book. And I want to thank the three of you for having me and joining. And I have to say that Nearing Nerdvana is the coolest name that I've heard since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Thank you. It's been quite a process for us, I would say. But before you go, you can't leave yet, because we like to end our shows on Vanas. And this week you chose one. And I think it's kind of perfect considering who you are and what you do. So I'll let you explain if you want to go ahead and read this.
Never tell me the odds.
And why did you choose this?
I feel that, I was sitting there and I was thinking about, quotes, because you told me that you do this, and I think that it's a great idea and very awesome. And I realized that I don't have a go-to quote. I said I should have 5 to 10 of these that I could just like pull off at any minute. So I started searching. Yeah, and I'm searching and I'm looking and I'm saying like, no, that one sucks. That one sucks. And then one just came to me magically. No AI necessary. I was like, never tell me the odds. That's a great one from Star Wars. And, Nearing Nerdvana. I think I saw some Star Wars related stuff on your page. So I was like, okay, they'll get it. So that's good. The nerds will understand. And, it makes sense with what me and my message and everything. So that's just how I like to approach my art, and everything I do is let me find the pocket and never tell me the odds. I think that all us artists can take that attitude when we create, because nobody should tell us that, you're better off trying this style or that didn't work out for anybody. I say just go for it and prove them all wrong.
Damn.
Wow. Yeah.
Hard to argue with that, for sure. Well, before we go, again, thank you for being here. I think that it's important, as we mentioned earlier, to have discussions, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Sometimes the ones that make us uncomfortable are the most important discussions that need to be had. So thank you for being here and telling us your side and how you use this. I think the overarching point was that you use AI to enhance your own art, and you work together with AI. So what do we have here? How can they find you? Where are you going to be? What do you have coming up next?
You can find me at Tillavision across my social media accounts. So that's on Instagram and on Twitter. And next, I have a very exciting project that will be coming out, and there will be a Web3 element to it, meaning an NFT, a digital collectible. And I don't know if I want to say too much about it right now, but it will be very, you can hear about it here in the next few weeks, and it will be very controversial and very divisive. And I hope that it will drive conversation in a positive way and really get people excited and aware of the new age that we're entering into. So pay attention, follow me on social media to find out a little bit more about that. But I promise you, this will rock your brain.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.
Wow.
Girls, do you have anything you want to ask or add before we let Tilla go? We kept him longer than I meant to. I apologize.
No, I'm good.
Anything,
I'm
girls?
good. I think I had asked what I need to. Yeah, my head is right now. It's like, wow.
We're going to think of
Like,
like a million questions while we're laying in bed tonight. Like, oh shit, I should have asked him that. So please, Tilla, do me a favor. And once the show goes live and once it's up and people have a chance to ask their questions, guys, we encourage you to ask questions. Tilla's very receptive.
Be nice, please.
Be respectful.
Be
No,
respectful.
we just said the same thing. Be
Yeah.
respectful. Don't be a jerk about it. Just ask what you have to ask, and Tilla will answer honestly, which is what you've done this entire interview. You've been very honest and forthright. So thank you for being here.
I would love to answer and educate. So if you want to learn, maybe you're a little bit scared of it. And I understand that people are scared of things that they don't understand. Maybe if you understand it, maybe it's because you're curious, because maybe you want to try it a little bit. And I suggest dip your dough in the water. It's warm.
Very good. All right. That's it for us tonight. We will see you guys. What day is this? We'll see you guys on Tuesday for Comic Book Women. So make sure you tune in. And again, thank you, Tilla. Have a good night.
Thank you so much for having me.